So if you are looking at a map of the United States right now, it is basically one giant warning label.
It really is a sea of red and purple.
We're talking about winter storm fern, and the scope is it's hard to wrap your head around.
230 million people.
2 out of every 3 Americans. It's staggering.
And it's not just the size. It's the mechanics. We're seeing this 2,300-mile corridor of bad weather.
Right. So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack that. Why is this specific setup so chaotic?
Well, it's a collision, a really violent one. You have this massive Arctic high dropping out of Canada.
The pressure on that is 145 millibars. I mean, that is just incredibly dense, heavy air.
Think of it like a concrete block. And it's crashing right into this potent surge of subtropical moisture coming up from the Gulf and the Pacific.
The perfect fuel hitting the perfect ignition source. So whether you're in Louisville getting 15 inches of snow or Texas watching ice snap the power lines, this is affecting you.
And for the East Coast, the situation is even trickier. It all starts with the geography.
You're talking about cold air damming.
Exactly. The Appalachian Mountains basically act like a wall. That dense Arctic air we mentioned just sinks down and gets trapped against the eastern slopes.
It forms a wedge.
A wedge of cold air right at the surface that just refuses to move. But the storm is still pumping in warm, moist air from the Atlantic.
And that warm air has nowhere to go but up and over that cold wedge.
Which is how you get what forecasters call warm nose, a layer of air maybe 5,000 feet up that's actually above freezing.
So in D.C. and Baltimore right now, snow is falling, hitting that warm layer, melting into rain.
And then it falls back into the deep freeze at the surface.
Which gives you sleet or freezing rain, the absolute worst-case scenario for infrastructure.
Right. And to make it even more intense, the satellite data is picking up lightning, thunder snow.
And that's not just a novelty, right? It tells us something specific.
It tells us the system is convective, just like a summer thunderstorm. The air is rising violently. And these lightning flashes, they're actually larger and last longer than what we see in summer storms. It's a signal of immense energy.
Speaking of adapting, I want to pivot to the logistics. I saw a fascinating note about how Delta Airlines is flipping their usual playbook for a storm like this.
Oh, that was a brilliant strategic move.
Usually they'd be sending crews north.
Right. But they saw the map. They saw the biggest ice threat was in the south, in their Atlanta hub. So they moved their de-icing experts from northern cities down to Atlanta.
So they put the talent where the real bottleneck was going to be. That's smart.
It is. But while humans can adapt like that, biology, well, it's having a much harder time.
You mean the reports of exploding trees? It sounds sensational.
It does, but the physics makes perfect sense. The temperature drops so fast, the sap inside a tree freezes and expands.
And the wood just can't contain the pressure?
It literally bursts. It sounds like a gunshot. And of course, that's a huge hazard for power lines.
And that biological damage extends to our food supply. I noticed Chicago wheat futures jumped 1.5%.
They did. Because in parts of the Midwest, it hit negative 35 Fahrenheit.
Wow.
And usually, snow acts like an insulating blanket for dormant crops. But in some of these areas, the extreme cold hit before the snow fell.
Which leads to a winter kill.
The crop freezes to death right there in the ground.
So this is a storm we might be paying for at the grocery store 6 months from now. And the pain isn't over when the snow stops, is it?
No. The precipitation is just round one. The final punch is a lobe of the polar vortex that's trailing right behind the storm.
We're talking about wind chills hitting, what, negative 50 in the plains?
Negative 50 Fahrenheit. That's frostbite in 5 to 10 minutes. And it turns any leftover slush into basically a sheet of concrete, making recovery twice as hard.
It really highlights the fragility of the systems we all rely on.
It does. The snow will melt next week. That's the easy part.
But that hidden variable, the agricultural damage, that winter kill, that's a bill that comes due later. It really leaves us with the question, how resilient is our food supply to just 48 hours of bad physics?
It's a very provocative thought.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive. Stay warm out there.